October 1945. A chill went to Angela's bones, but it wasn't just the autumn wind piercing her hole-ridden shawl that was to blame. The cold had settled deeper, in her very soul, freezing the last remnants of hope and warmth. Germany lay in ruins, not only physically, but morally as well. Smoke still billowed over what was once Dresden, like a ghostly reminder of its former beauty, of architectural splendor destroyed in an instant. This smoke, acrid and bitter, penetrated the lungs, was absorbed into clothing, and poisoned everything around. It was the smell of defeat, the smell of death, the smell of a lost future. Angela stood in an endless breadline, and the wait seemed an eternity. Every step forward, every shift of this exhausted crowd was achieved with incredible difficulty. The bread they were given could hardly be called food. Rather, it was a gray, sticky mass, more like clay than anything edible, but even this substitute was a treasure, a chance to hold on for another day. She looked at the faces of the women standing next to her, faces smeared with soot and dirt, emaciated by hunger and deprivation. But that wasn't the most frightening thing. The most frightening thing was the emptiness in their eyes, an emptiness deeper than any darkness, an emptiness in which it seemed nothing remained but despair. They were shadows of their former selves, ghosts of the past, doomed to exist in a present devoid of any perspective. Angela clutched an empty bag in her hands. Her hands, wounded and chapped, were a testament to the hardships she had endured. They remembered the touch of bandages and medicines when she worked as a Luftwaffe nurse. They remembered the cold metal of the planes when she helped prepare them for departure. They remembered the warmth of the hands of the wounded soldiers she tried to save. Now they just held an empty bag, a symbol of her helplessness. She thought of the home that was no more, of the home that had been wiped off the face of the earth by Allied bombing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of the home where laughter once rang, where the smell of fresh baking wafted, where she felt safe. Now, in its place, were only ruins, a pile of rubble that held only the ghosts of memories. She thought of her family scattered across the fronts, of her brother, who had gone to the Eastern Front and was missing in action, of her father, who had fought on the Western Front and returned home crippled, of her mother, who was trying to keep the remnants of the family together amidst constant bombing and starvation. Where were they now? Were they alive? Would she ever see them again? She thought of the future, which also seemed not to exist. The war was lost. The Reich had fallen. The Führer was dead. What lay ahead for her? Endless breadlines, life in the ruins, the struggle for survival. Was this all that was left? The war was lost, but the battle for survival was just beginning. And this battle, it seemed, was even more cruel and merciless than the war itself. A child's quiet cry cut through the silence, muffled only by the howling wind. This cry was an echo of the universal suffering, a cry for help that no one could answer. The cities lay in ruins, and with them, faith. Faith in the Führer, in the Reich, in invincibility. The faith they had been taught since childhood, the faith for which they had fought and died. Now this faith was destroyed, just like their cities. All that remained was the belief that tomorrow would be a little better than today. Angela clutched her thin shawl, trying to keep warm. The shawl was the only thing that reminded her of her past life, of a time when she could still afford small pleasures. She had seen too much death, too much suffering. She had lost count of the days and nights spent in basements, under bombing. Every siren, every explosion, every scream was imprinted in her memory like a brand. The long line of emaciated women waiting for their portion of bread was a reflection of the general hopelessness. Their faces were pale and haggard, their eyes dull. They looked like shadows wandering through the ruins of the past. They were taught to hate. Hate was the weapon used to unite them, to make them fight. Hate for the Jews, the communists, the Allies. They were fed lies about enemies who wanted to destroy Germany. Angela believed. She believed she was fighting for a just cause, for the future of her country. She believed in the Führer, in the Reich, in invincibility. But now, looking at the ruins, she understood that she had been fighting for an illusion. An illusion of greatness, an illusion of purity, an illusion of the future. How many more lies would she have to learn? How many more illusions would she have to shatter? Suddenly her gaze fell on a small crack in the pavement. A tiny sprout was pushing its way through this crack, green and fragile, but full of life. This sprout seemed to defy destruction and death, symbolizing the hope for rebirth. Angela smiled involuntarily. Maybe not all was lost. Maybe even in these ashes and ruins there was a place for life, for hope, for the future. Maybe even she could find the strength to start over. Now she was a prisoner of war. The words sounded foreign, as if describing someone else. Not her, Angela. A prisoner of war. Another stigma. Another symbol of defeat. The American camp in Remagen was a world separated by barbed wire from her former life. 6. A world where different laws applied, where a different language was spoken, where even the air seemed different. Barbed wire. She had seen it before, during the war, on the borders of occupied territories. She knew what it meant: restriction, lack of freedom, the impossibility of going back. But before, the wire was for others. Now it surrounded her. She felt its presence on her skin, even without touching it. She saw it in every glance of the American soldiers, in every gesture, in every word. The camp was a huge, chaotic collection of barracks, tents, and temporary structures. 7, 8, 9. Everything seemed gray, dusty, and faceless. The barracks, surrounded by wire, resembled cages for birds that had lost their wings. Inside these cages, huddled hundreds of women, just like her, broken, scared, lost. They looked at each other with suspicion and distrust, as if fearing that even in this hell someone could betray them. There was a roof over their heads, it was true, and food, even if it wasn't like at home. But there was also the humiliation of defeat, the fear of the unknown, and the constant feeling of being watched. The American soldiers, armed and vigilant, watched their every move. They were strangers, enemies, victors, and Angela didn't know what to expect from them. She was housed in a barrack with dozens of other women. It was cramped, stuffy, and dirty. The air was thick with the smell of sweat, unwashed bodies, and despair. The women slept on bunk beds, huddled close together, as if trying to keep warm not only physically, but also mentally. Conversations were held in whispers, glances were furtive. Everyone was afraid to say too much, afraid to attract attention. Among them was Elsa, her friend. They had worked together as nurses in the Luftwaffe, survived the bombings together, lost loved ones together, but even their friendship seemed to have faltered under the weight of circumstances. Elsa still looked at the world with suspicion and hatred. She didn't trust the Americans, didn't believe their promises, and thought it was all just a trick, an attempt to break their spirit. "Don't believe them, Angela," she whispered to her at night. "They want to destroy us. They want us to forget our homeland, our Führer. They want us to become like them, weak and spineless." Angela listened to her, but doubts had already taken root in her soul. She saw how the American soldiers treated them. They weren't cruel. They didn't mock them. They were just doing their job. They gave them food, water, a roof over their heads. Is that how you treat enemies? The first shock was a hot shower. Angela couldn't believe her eyes when she was led to the shower room. Hot water. In her former life, this was a luxury available only to a few. In Germany, people were dying of cold, and here, in a prisoner of war camp, they were offered a hot shower. She undressed, feeling vulnerable and unprotected. The jets of hot water cascaded over her body, washing away the filth of war and hatred. She stood under the shower, her eyes closed, and felt the tension leave her body along with the dirty water. It was an incredible, almost surreal feeling. She felt as if she were being born again. Elsa snorted, considering it a trick, an attempt to break their spirit. "They want us to get used to comfort, to forget our suffering," she said. "Don't fall for their tricks, Angela. Don't forget who we are." But Angela couldn't help but give in. The hot water was too pleasant, too desirable. She felt her body relax, her muscles release their tension. It was as if she were washing away all the bad things, everything she had been through. The second shock was the food. After the shower, they were taken to the dining hall. And what Angela saw there shocked her. A tray of food, a piece of meat, potatoes, vegetables, and ice cream. Meat. Ice cream. In Germany, people were starving to death, and here in a prisoner of war camp, they were given ice cream. 10. It seemed impossible, absurd. Elsa refused to eat, suspecting poison. "They want to poison us," she whispered. "Don't eat anything, Angela." "It's all a lie." But Angela was too hungry to listen to her. She picked up a spoon and took a tentative first taste of the ice cream. The taste of vanilla. Sweet, delicate, unfamiliar. Angela closed her eyes, trying to remember the last time she had eaten something like this. It had been so long that she had almost forgotten the taste. It was the taste of childhood, the taste of forgotten joys, the taste of a world she had lost. For a moment, she forgot about the war, the camp, the hatred. All that remained was the taste of vanilla, the taste of hope. But hope is a dangerous thing. It can be shattered at any moment. Angela knew this all too well. She opened her eyes and looked at Elsa. Her face was contorted with hatred and contempt. She didn't understand how Angela could eat this American poison. She didn't understand how Angela could forget her suffering. Angela lowered her eyes. She felt guilty, as if she had betrayed her friend, but she couldn't resist. The taste of vanilla was too strong, too tempting. It gave her hope that everything could still be all right. Then there was Coca-Cola. American soldiers handed out bottles of Coca-Cola to the prisoners. Elsa looked at them with contempt. She considered it a symbol of American imperialism, a weapon of mass stupefaction. Angela, tired of ideologies, just wanted a drink. She opened the bottle and took a sip. The sweet, fizzy drink burned her throat. It was unlike anything she had ever tasted before. It was the taste of freedom, the taste of America. And this taste frightened her. She was beginning to understand that the propaganda had lied to her, that the enemy was not so terrible after all, that the enemy had hot water, delicious food, and ice cream. She saw how other women in the camp were beginning to change. They were smiling, laughing, talking to the American soldiers. 11. They were watching Hollywood movies and listening to American music. They were beginning to forget about hatred, but Elsa did not give up. She still believed in the Reich, in the Führer, in invincibility. She still hated the Americans. She tried to convince Angela that it was all a lie, that the Americans wanted to break their spirit. Elsa was becoming a living reproach to Angela, a reminder of the past from which she was so desperately trying to escape. She didn't know what to do. She wanted to believe in the best, but she was afraid of being disappointed. She wanted to forget the past, but the past would not let her go. She was crushed between two worlds, between hatred and hope. One day, walking past the camp fence, Angela saw a scene that made her stop. An American soldier, a young guy with an open, friendly face, was playing baseball with German children. The children, just like she had once been, were laughing, running, shouting, trying to catch the ball. Their faces were full of excitement and joy, as if they had forgotten about the war, about the hunger, about the destruction. They were just playing. The sound of the bat hitting the ball, the children's laughter, their excited cries. All this created an atmosphere completely incompatible with the hell they were in. Angela stood mesmerized, watching the scene. She had never seen anything like it. In Germany, children played different games. Games imbued with the spirit of militarism and hatred. Games in which they imagined themselves as soldiers fighting for the Reich. These children were different. They were free from ideology, from hatred, from the past. They were just enjoying the moment, rejoicing in life. And at that moment, Angela understood that the future belonged to these children, to those who do not know hatred, to those who know how to enjoy life. Tears welled up in her eyes. She couldn't hold them back. They were tears of relief, tears of hope, tears of remorse. She cried for her lost childhood, for her destroyed country, for her shattered faith. She cried for those who had died in the war, for those who had suffered, for those who had been deceived. She understood that she could no longer live in the past. She had to move forward, to find the strength to start all over again. She had to make a choice. And then she made a choice. She approached the American soldier, the one who was playing with the children. She felt her legs tremble, her heart pound in her chest. She was afraid of being rejected, afraid of being ridiculed. but she forced herself to speak. "Excuse me," she said in broken English. Can I try?" The soldier looked at her in surprise. He probably didn't expect one of the prisoners to want to join the game, but there was no contempt or ridicule in his eyes, only curiosity and compassion. "Of course," he replied, smiling. "Take the bat." He handed her a baseball bat. Angela took it in her hands. It was heavy and awkward. She had never held anything like it before. She didn't know what to do with it. She had never played baseball. She looked at the bat with surprise and hope. It was a symbol of something new, something unfamiliar, something that could change her life. The soldier showed her how to hold the bat properly, how to take a stance, how to swing. Angela listened carefully, trying to remember his every word. She felt awkward and clumsy, but she didn't give up. She wanted to learn. She wanted to forget the war. She wanted to start a new life. The soldier threw the ball. Angela swung, but missed. The ball flew past her, leaving her completely bewildered. The children laughed. Angela felt her cheeks flush with shame. "Don't worry," the soldier said, encouraging her. "Try again." He threw the ball again. Angela swung harder, focusing on the ball. This time, she hit it. The sound of the bat hitting the ball was deafening. The ball flew into the air, traveling several meters before falling to the ground. The children shouted with delight. Angela smiled. She had hit the ball. She had done it. She could do it. She continued to play, swinging and hitting the ball again and again. With each hit, she felt more confident and free. She forgot about the camp, about the war, about the past. She was just playing, like a child. The taste of vanilla, the taste of Coca-Cola, the taste of freedom, all of this mixed in her soul, giving birth to hope for the future. A future where there is no place for hatred. A future where there is room for ice cream, Coca-Cola, and baseball. But Elsa still stood aside, her eyes full of hatred. She looked at Angela with contempt. She didn't understand how Angela could play with those American pigs. She didn't understand how Angela could forget her homeland, her Führer, her faith. "You're a traitor, Angela," she hissed. "You've betrayed us all." Angela didn't answer. She just kept playing, trying to ignore Elsa's words. She knew that Elsa would never understand her. She knew that Elsa would forever remain in the past. It was this lack of understanding that was the real tragedy, a tragedy that had divided them, a tragedy that had destroyed their friendship. Angela understood that she couldn't force Elsa to change her mind. She couldn't make her believe what she believed. She could only hope that one day Elsa would also find the strength to let go of the past and start a new life. But for now, Elsa remained on the sidelines, her eyes full of hatred, and Angela knew that their paths had diverged forever. She hit another ball, feeling her body fill with energy and joy. She smiled, looking at the children who were running after the ball, laughing and shouting. At that moment, she felt free, free from the past, free from hatred, free from fear. She was just Angela, a woman who wanted to live, to love, and to enjoy life. And she knew that this was just the beginning, that a long and difficult road lay ahead of her. But she was ready for it. She was ready to fight for her future, for her happiness, for her freedom, because she knew that even in the ashes and ruins, there is a place for hope. And this hope, like a tiny sprout pushing through a crack in the pavement, gave her the strength to move forward. The sun was setting, painting the sky in bright colors. The game was over. The children had gone to their barracks. Angela returned the bat to the soldier, thanking him for the game. "Come again," he said, smiling. "We're always happy to have new players." Angela nodded and went to her barrack. Elsa was still sitting on her bed, her face contorted with hatred. Angela didn't talk to her. She just lay down on her bed, closed her eyes, and fell asleep. For the first time in a long time, she slept peacefully. She dreamed of baseball, ice cream, and the smiling faces of children. She dreamed of a future where there was no place for hatred. The days in the camp dragged on slowly, like molasses. Each dawn brought with it the same grayness, the same longing, the same uncertainty. Angela tried to stay away from Elsa, understanding that any communication with her only opened old wounds and intensified her sense of guilt. Elsa, in turn, did not miss an opportunity to cast a poisonous glance in her direction, full of contempt and disappointment. Their friendship, once so strong and unbreakable, had now turned into a fragile vase, shattered into small pieces that could not be glued back together. Angela spent more and more time with other women, those who, like her, were trying to find the strength to move on. They told each other about their past lives, their dreams and hopes, their losses and disappointments. They shared food, clothing, and simply warmth, creating a small island of humanity in this sea of despair. She became friends with Anna, a young teacher from Hamburg, who had lost her husband on the Eastern Front. Anna was quiet and modest, but a spark of hope burned in her eyes. She believed that after the war she would be able to return to her work and help children rebuild their lives. She told Angela about her students, their successes and failures, their dreams and fears. Angela listened to her, holding her breath as if transported to another world, a world where there was still room for knowledge, for creativity, for the future. She also became close to Martha, an elderly peasant woman from Bavaria who had lost her home and land during the bombings. Martha was a strong and independent woman who had endured many hardships in her life. She told Angela about her farm, her animals, her harvests. She taught her how to knit, sew, and cook simple meals from the meager products they were given in the camp. Angela admired her wisdom and fortitude, seeing her as a role-if model. Together they tried to support each other, to share their knowledge and experience, to create small moments of joy and hope. They sang songs, read poems, told jokes. They organized small celebrations, celebrating birthdays and other important events. They tried to preserve their humanity despite all the difficulties and deprivations. Baseball became a real salvation for Angela. She played every day, trying not to miss a single opportunity. She learned new techniques, improved her skills, and enjoyed the movement and excitement of the game. Baseball helped her forget the past, focus on the present, and dream about the future. The American soldiers treated her with kindness and respect. They taught her how to play, gave her advice, and encouraged her when she failed. They saw in her not an enemy, but a person who was trying to change her life. Angela became particularly close to a soldier named David. David was from Kansas. He grew up on a farm and dreamed of becoming a teacher. He was a kind and compassionate person, always ready to help. He told Angela about his family, his farm, his dreams. Angela listened to him, holding her breath, as if transported to another world, a world where there was still room for love, for family, for the future. David taught her English, told her about American culture, and introduced her to American music and literature. He gave her books and magazines which she read with great interest. He helped her broaden her horizons, learn something new, and see the world through different eyes. One day, David brought her a small gift, a bar of vanilla chocolate. Angela was moved to tears. She couldn't believe that someone could be so kind and generous to her. She thanked David, hugging him tightly. The taste of vanilla chocolate reminded her of the ice cream she had eaten in the camp on the first day. It was the taste of hope, the taste of freedom, the taste of a new life. She closed her eyes and savored every piece, as if it were the last time in her life. But despite all the positive changes, the scar on her heart did not heal. Memories of the war, of losses, of betrayal haunted her in her dreams and in reality. She could not forget those who had died, those who had suffered, those who had been deceived. The thought of Elsa particularly tormented her. She could not understand why Elsa could not let go of the past, why she could not forgive the Americans, why she could not see hope for the future. One day, Angela decided to talk to Elsa. She found her sitting alone on her bed, staring at a single point. "Elsa," Angela said quietly, "I know it's hard for you. I know you've lost a lot, but we have to move on. We can't live in the past." Elsa looked at her with hatred. "You betrayed us, Angela," she said. "You've become just like them. You've forgotten your homeland, your Führer, your faith." "I haven't forgotten," Angela replied. "I just realized that we were deceived, that the war was a mistake. That hatred is a destructive force. We must learn to forgive. We must learn to love. We must learn to live in peace." "Never," said Elsa. "I will never forgive them. I will never forget what they did to us. I will hate them for the rest of my life." Angela sighed. She realized that her words were useless. Elsa was too deeply immersed in her hatred to hear her. "I hope that one day you will understand, Elsa," Angela said. "I hope that one day you will find the strength to let go of the past and start a new life." She turned and walked away, leaving Elsa alone with her hatred. She felt powerless and helpless. She understood that she could not save Elsa if she did not want to be saved herself. That evening, sitting by the fire with Anna and Martha, Angela told them about her conversation with Elsa. They listened to her with sympathy and understanding. "Don't blame yourself, Angela," said Anna. "Not everyone can change. Not everyone can forgive. Not everyone can see hope." "You did everything you could," Martha added. "Now you need to focus on yourself, on your future. Don't let Elsa's hatred ruin your life." Angela nodded. She knew they were right. She couldn't change Elsa, but she could change herself. She could build a new life, full of love, hope, and freedom. She looked up at the sky, dotted with stars. She felt her heart fill with warmth and gratitude. She was alive, she was free, and she was ready for the future, even if that future was full of uncertainty. Because she knew that there was a place for hope in her soul, and this hope, like a tiny sprout pushing through a crack in the pavement, gave her the strength to move forward. Weeks turned into months. Camp life, monotonous and predictable, gradually became familiar. Angela learned to find small joys in this gray world, to appreciate moments of communication with Anna and Martha, to enjoy playing baseball, and to look forward to meetings with David. She felt her soul gradually healing, the wounds inflicted by the war beginning to scar over. David became more than just a friend to her. He became something more. She felt a warmth and affection for him that she had not experienced in a very long time. He was her rock, her support, her ray of light in this dark kingdom. She valued his kindness, his sincerity, his ability to listen and understand. They often walked together through the camp, talking about everything under the sun. David told her about his life in Kansas, his family, his plans for the future. Angela listened to him, holding her breath, imagining herself in his place, living a peaceful and happy life. She also shared her memories with him, told him about her childhood, her family, her work as a nurse. She told him about the war, the bombings, the suffering of the people. She told him about her fears and hopes. David listened to her attentively and sympathetically, without interrupting or judging. He understood how difficult it was for her to talk about it, and he tried to support her as best he could. He told her that the past was the past, and that she needed to look to the future. He told her that she was a strong and brave woman, and that she deserved to be happy. One day, David suggested that Angela write a letter to her family. He said that the American authorities had organized a letter exchange program between prisoners of war and their relatives. Angela was very happy about this opportunity. She dreamed of finding out what had happened to her mother, father, and brother. Were they alive? Where were they? She sat down at the table and began to write a letter. The words flowed from her as if a stream had broken through a dam. She wrote about her life in the camp, her friends, her hopes. She wrote about David, his kindness and support. She wrote about how much she missed her family and how she dreamed of meeting them. She finished the letter and gave it to David to pass on to the American authorities. She waited for an answer impatiently, counting the days and hours. But time passed, and there was no answer. Weeks turned into months, and still no answer came from Germany. Angela began to lose hope. She was afraid that something terrible had happened to her family. She was afraid that they had died during the war. One day, when she had almost given up hope, David brought her a letter. He said it had come from Germany. Angela grabbed the letter with trembling hands. She recognized her mother's handwriting. She opened the letter and began to read. Tears welled up in her eyes. Her mother wrote that they were alive, but that their life was very difficult. Their house had been destroyed, and they had had to move to another city. Her father was seriously ill and needed constant care. Her brother was missing, and they didn't know if he was alive. Her mother wrote that they missed Angela very much and that they dreamed of meeting her. She wrote that they were proud of her and that they believed she could build a new life. Angela finished reading the letter and burst into tears. She was glad that her family was alive, but it hurt her to know how difficult things were for them. She felt guilty that she couldn't be there to help them. David hugged her and tried to comfort her. He said that everything would be all right and that they would definitely meet again. He told her to believe in the best. Angela nodded, but her heart was full of longing and sadness. She understood that the war had left deep scars not only on her body, but also on her soul. She understood that the past would never completely let her go. Shortly after receiving the letter from her mother, Angela began to have strange dreams. She dreamed of ruined cities, dead soldiers, crying children. She dreamed of Elsa, standing alone in the ruins, her eyes full of hatred. She would wake up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't understand what these dreams meant. They haunted her day and night, giving her no peace. She told David about her dreams. He said that they were probably the result of the stress she had experienced. He advised her to see a doctor. Angela followed his advice and went to see a doctor. The doctor said she had post-traumatic stress disorder. He prescribed her medication and advised her to see a psychotherapist. Angela began taking medication and seeing a psychotherapist. The psychotherapist helped her to understand her feelings, to understand the causes of her fears, and to learn how to cope with her emotions. Gradually, her dreams became less frightening and her condition improved. She began to feel stronger and more confident. She began to believe that she could overcome all difficulties and build a new life. But the ghost of the past still haunted her. She could not forget Elsa, her hatred, her tragedy. She felt responsible for her, as if she could have done something to help her. One day, Angela learned that Elsa was being transferred to another camp. She decided to say goodbye to her. She found Elsa sitting on her bed, looking out the window. She went over to her and sat down beside her. "Elsa," Angela said quietly, "I heard you're being transferred to another camp." Elsa looked at her with contempt. "What do you want?" she asked. "I just wanted to say goodbye," Angela replied. "I wanted to wish you all the best." "I don't need your wishes," Elsa said. "I hate you. You betrayed us all." Angela sighed. She knew that Elsa would never change. "I hope that one day you will understand, Elsa," Angela said. "I hope that one day you will find the strength to let go of the past and start a new life." She stood up and left, leaving Elsa alone with her hatred. She felt powerless and helpless. She understood that she could not save Elsa if she did not want to be saved herself. But despite all the difficulties and disappointments, Angela did not lose hope. She believed that she could build a new life, full of love, hope, and freedom. She believed that she could overcome all difficulties and be happy. She knew that there was a place for hope in her soul, and this hope, like a tiny sprout pushing through a crack in the pavement, gave her the strength to move forward.